Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Hope you're all doing absolutely incredibly and that you're all having a great day. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. The news, whatever. I was going to say the news is a bit weird, but I know you hear that every single day. And that's because it is. So we have entered a new saga that I think people are going to be talking about for a while. I don't think this is going to be fly-by-night news. I think people will literally be discussing this for a number of months, if not years. Major announcement. The people from Consensus, the Ethereum development group, announced on Twitter that the lawsuit against them from the US SEC has been dropped, and the SEC has decided to close their entire investigation into the allegations that Ether and anything on top of the Ethereum network is a security. There's a lot to unfold. I'll try and explain it as best I can. Back in 2017, as the cryptocurrency market began to pick up, began to get more popular, a lot of people, it was mainly Bitcoin maximalists, began to announce that a lot of other coins should not be made, should not have a part in the market, and are probably doing something illegal. This was the beginning of the lies against Tether, the lies against XRP, and a lot of people were not here in the early days of Ethereum. Anyone who had Bitcoin talked negatively about Ethereum. That got us into the discussion of XRP is an unregistered security because these people saw that XRP became the number 2 coin and was very close to becoming the number 1 coin. At some point in history, not too long after all of this, the SEC was like, we need regulation within the cryptocurrency space. We had passed by or near $20,000 per Bitcoin. All the other coins had continued to go up. They had launched Bitcoin futures to be able to manipulate the market to allow people to short it. And they said, okay, cool. We got to get this all under control. You might remember the SEC they had like a literal press conference and they went on stage and they were like, Bitcoin is a commodity. It is not a security, yada, yada, yada. The very next day, somebody went on stage and they said, Ethereum is a commodity. It is not a security. This led everyone in the market, every single person, to believe that the SEC was going to go down the line and basically announce each coin in order, at least the top 10. That was a discussion back then. They would go in order of the top 10. XRP was number 3. And they would announce if they thought it was a security or a commodity, they would go, cool, down the line, top 10. They never announced for XRP. There was never a discussion for XRP or any other coin, which then led to the gigantic snake in the room of the Bitcoin maximalists being like, well, every other coin must be a security. And when you talk about actual like insidious nature, there were for a number of years a lot of Bitcoin maximalists. And I mean like very prominent figures in the space who who love Bitcoin. They used to go on TV. They were going on CNBC and they were announcing that Bitcoin's a commodity and every other coin is a security and needs to be regulated. It's literally them trying to make sure that they're manipulating the market to crash the other coin so that Bitcoin essentially survives. Bitcoin's not disappearing overnight. Bitcoin will clearly be the number 1 coin, but it's some kind of irrational fear that led us into these moments. So recently, the last year or so, maybe even half a year, we had, for some reason, the SEC completely lost their minds. They started frothing at the mouth and they were like, we need to get crypto really under control because of scams, because of this, because of so and so. Cool. We were expecting you to regulate since around 2014. You have not done so. Here we go. The problem is that they announced that every coin except for Bitcoin, was a security. And they began to go after multiple cryptocurrency companies. Ripple had already the lawsuit against them. And this is when the SEC and Gary Gensler basically was like, no, every coin is a security. So I made sure to remind people in a video, I was like, hey, you're pointing a finger at XRP. Don't forget you own Cardano, you have Tron, you're holding Solana. They think all these coins are in the exact same bucket. A lot of people then came forward to say like, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Because in 2017, 2018, members of the SEC came forward and said that Ethereum was a commodity. Why the turnaround? So that led us to Charles Hoskinson calling people who like XRP insane. I forgot what terrible word he ended up using, but he was like, no, there's nothing happening behind the scenes where someone's being paid off. The rumors were, and I mean, if we can be completely honest with ourselves, the rumors were that years ago, someone went up to the SEC, spoke to someone, handed them some money, we don't know. And basically they were like, okay, now Ethereum's a commodity. And as we have a new group of people in the SEC, as the other ones left at the end of the last presidency, yada, 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 that basically these people were now like, okay, what the other SEC members said before doesn't matter, as I think Jay Clayton was the head of the SEC previously. He's gone, Gary Gensler's the head, and therefore everything is a security once again. So that's when, once again, people in the XRP community were like, okay, well, can we get some regulatory clarity for everything? Something must be happening. Someone must have been paid. Why is Ethereum, out of all the altcoins that we have, the only one that has any kind of favor with the SEC? Charles Hoskinson called everyone else completely insane. He was like, none of you know what you're talking about. There was never any type of cover up or money moving behind the scenes. And then I think like a week and a half later, he was like, okay, there might have been once again, you can find the videos. I remember this. He's like, okay, like maybe there was some money being moved around. Maybe there was a cover up, and everyone was like, what the fudge are you talking about? That then led us into the beginning of this year, also maybe like January, February, where basically the SEC was like, okay, we're going to go after every single coin because all of you are securities. We got the Bitcoin ETFs, and for some reason, all the prices of every single coin kind of went up. Bitcoin went up the most, but all the other coins were kind of recovering. And then that led us into, I believe in March, where the US SEC came forward and they were like, no, we need to shut Ethereum down. You might remember some of my videos back then because I was like, what? You can't do that. The SEC decided to go after every company that had anything to do with Ethereum. So Consensus, any layer 2, any new layer 3 companies, basically claiming that not only was Ether a security, but anything built on top of it is also going to be deemed as a security in the eyes of the SEC. So that leads us to where we currently are right now, where seemingly out of the blue, the US SEC has dropped all lawsuits. As far as I'm understanding from the news, everything at once has been dropped by the SEC against anything Ethereum. And people are now declaring online that this means that the SEC now views Ethereum once again as a commodity. It's a lot weirder than you actually could even assume, because none of this makes any sense, and it never did from the beginning. The SEC and Gary Gensler, they wanted literal control over the Ethereum chain and transactions of the base chain, layer 1, 2, and any layer 3 things that might be there within the United States. So they literally wanted companies and you to also tell them what you were doing at any given moment with Ethereum or any of the other layers, so that they had control over all the transactions. It's mathematically impossible. Like, that's not how any of these chains actually work. Consensus highlighted that the SEC's enforcement division has officially notified them of the decision to end the investigation into Ethereum 2.0. This decision implies that the SEC will not pursue charges alleging that the sales of Ether constitute security transactions. Consensus hailed this outcome as a major win for Ethereum developers, technology providers, and industry participants. The decision from the SEC follows a letter sent by Consensus to the SEC on the 7th of June, requesting the termination of the investigation into Ether. This request came after the agency approved spot Ethereum ETFs in May, which also made no sense. It made sense, but it also didn't make sense. They would not have normally approved them, but at that point in that video, I was like, if they're considering Ether a security, and they're talking about another security on top of it, the ETFs, it seems logical that they would have approved it so they get more control over Ether. Yeah. So this is major news. The idea being this basically opens up the floodgates for institutional money to flow officially into Ether and Ethereum. If we hadn't gotten the rumored dates are still the 2nd of July for the launch of the Ethereum ETFs. If we had gotten to the 2nd of July and there had essentially been no regulatory clarity about any of this, the inflows might have been non-existent, or you name it. The space is absolutely ridiculous. This implies that all engines are go. Everything is good and everything is blah, 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 blah. Like I said, of course, this was major news. Everyone's talking about it, and it's going to be talked about for a very long time, simply because something still doesn't add up. So another portion of the news that's floating around is that people, and I don't care for the term XRP community, it's like such a long term, are basically complaining now. Why, you might ask? Because even if we just centered on the top 50 of coins, this is the second time that Ethereum has received favoritism from the SEC. They announced a lawsuit a couple of months ago, and already the entire thing against Ethereum and any other company that deals with Ether was dropped a couple of months later. The lawsuit against Ripple at the time of me making this video is still going on. It has not ended. And they have not found anything against Ripple either, if you've been paying attention. The SEC had many claims, and many times they weren't even declaring things in court. The judge was constantly asking them, what are you talking about? And they were like, oh, we declined to answer. And it's like, what are you talking about that they did then? This lawsuit's been going on for 4 years plus and shows no immediate sign of ending, while Ethereum once again has been completely absolved of all their perceived sins for the second time over the course of a 6-year period. So, yeah, like I said, this is going to continue for a while, because what I think a lot of people don't understand is that the SEC is not going to stop the path that they're on, and they're going to go after other coins. So when this news came out, looked online, and of course a lot of people were cheering for Ethereum, but also telling people in XRP, to stop being so negative about stuff, bro. And it's like, no, you don't understand that they're also coming for your altcoins as well. So people love to point always. It's something disastrous about the world and about the cryptocurrency community, where people love to point fingers. When people in the XRP space argue or complain about something, you should all be like really listening to them, because it's going to affect your coin very, very soon. So when the Ripple lawsuit is over, and when Ripple goes public, and when XRP starts pumping, and there's no longer a discussion, because we already know that they lost the portion of the lawsuit where we know that XRP is not an unregistered security, and other coins start feeling this pain over the next couple of years, just remember these moments. For whatever reason, once again, Ethereum has been given a pass. No one knows exactly why. Of course, speculation is quite high as far as someone being paid off, someone being told something. And I mean, if we can be honest with ourselves, that is the world that we live in. Over the course of 4 years, the SEC hasn't been able to prove one thing about Ripple, the company, or XRP. They go on a complete tirade against Ethereum, and then out of nowhere, they drop it. Do you think that the letter that was written by consensus was enough for the SEC to go, you know what, guys, they're not a security after all, and then end the lawsuit? Or do you think it was something else? Major news. This will go on for a while as other coins also get targeted, because don't forget, the SEC said they believe that every other coin is a security. So when we get to those moments, just remember who you pointed at and laughed at. That's the Ethereum is apparently not a security news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in, I guess, major news, we're at the point where Bitcoin's consolidation, Bitcoin's lack of relative movement, Bitcoin's going down pressure is causing a lot of pressure on a lot of people within the market. I have friends who invest in like all levels of crypto, but a lot of them do have a lot of altcoins. And I can tell that they're also kind of waiting for this like upward movement again. Online, nearly everywhere, you can find an analyst who's talking about where prices are going to go, how high prices are going to go, and the general tone is rebound, nonstop, is all over the place. People are looking at this chart and that chart, and they come to the conclusion that because of the way that the charts look, because of the way that things are, because of how long we've been going sideways, because of how long we've been going down, because of how long we've had outflows, that a number of coins are going to bounce, and they're going to bounce quite significantly. Santiment, the on-chain analytical company who basically, we don't even hear about the other company anymore. It was Into the Block, and there was, what was the other company? Something blockchain. Santiment is kind of the only on-chain analytics company we hear about now. I don't know why. They're calling attention to the MV-RV ratio, some other set of letters that are being thrown out there, suggesting that XRP and Cardano are currently undervalued and are on the verge of an impressive rebound. The cryptocurrency market has been experiencing a significant downturn, with major assets like Bitcoin, XRP, and Cardano hitting substantial lows. Despite the pervasive bearish sentiment, recent market metrics from Santiment and insights from analysts suggest a potential rebound for XRP, Cardano, and a number of other coins. You don't get it. If you've been here the last couple of, like 10, 15 videos, you've seen not only are we getting constantly good news, but the news of a bounce, the news of a rebound, the news of a recovery, and Bitcoin going to, it's constant. Once again, I am not the biggest chart person. You can roll your eyes if you want. I've been in this market for so long, I've seen all the charts, like literally all of them. And a lot of times people throw out these charts and everyone's expecting them to come true the very next day, what have you. So excuse my skepticism after having been here for the better part of near a decade. But it is nice to see that even when prices are going down or when prices are going sideways, that the general idea is that we are about to like completely skyrocket towards the moon. Santiment, a blockchain analytics firm, recently shared promising data on Twitter, indicating a bullish outlook for several cryptocurrencies. They highlighted the market value to realized value ratio, a metric used to assess market sentiment and potential price movement. Did you see that thing? And someone keeps posting it every day on Twitter. You know how like there's like the bearish, no. It's fear, and it's a fear and greed metric. It's literally like a little chart thing where one side says like extreme fear, like we're terrified, no one wants to put money into the market. Normalized fear, normal, and then it goes like greed and then extreme greed. Someone's been posting for like a month and a half that the market is currently greedy, and I'm like, you saw us fall in price for 3 months. Like what greed are, like greed typically implies people are throwing money, like everyone's throwing money into the market in like a general manner, if you will. And that, we are greedy. And then extreme greed is like, okay, everyone's really, but you can't, some of these metrics out here. So this is the market value to realized value ratio. They said the lower a cryptocurrency's 30-day market value to realized value is, the higher the likelihood we see a short-term bounce. For those of you not looking at the screen, Cardano is listed as very bullish, that it's going to have a jump. Dogecoin is very bullish. XRP is mild bullish. Ethereum is mild bullish. Bitcoin is mild bullish. And Toncoin is neutral. Toncoin being the coin from the texting app Telegram, which is still popular. I know people who use Telegram. I've never heard anyone mention Toncoin or that they're using it or any. So I don't know what the metrics are, but I mean, it makes sense that it's neutral because I haven't heard anybody talking about it. But yeah, I mean, this news echoes every single day. There is a generalized sentiment, statement, feeling in the air that we're going to go higher, that we're going to 100K. I'm constantly seeing articles and things of people talking about XRP is going to $12, XRP is going to $25, Cardano is going to $17. Ethereum's going to, and I mean like they mean this year, over the course of this year. It kind of also depends on which spectrum of belief that you're currently on. There are people who believe that in the next week, we're going to start like the proper pumping up movement because we have been consolidating and trending sideways for far too. This is the longest consolidation ever, which I also don't believe is happening, especially with all these inflows. For those of you who missed it about a day or two ago as well, one of the major news stories was that ETFs had outflows of, I think, $120 million. And everyone was like, oh no, woe is us. And that same exact day, whales bought $880 million worth of Bitcoin to actual Bitcoin wallets, which made nowhere in the news. The news that day was outflows, sad, outflows, bad. And it's like you're missing the other 700 plus million that was also accumulated by long-term holders in that 24-hour period. So yeah, the optimism reigns supreme within this space. No matter how blasé or annoyed I might be with prices here or on Twitter, people on Twitter are, waving the flags in the air. Everyone's, championing their coin and talking about how amazing they are and where they're going to go. I know the market's going to go up. It's just more of one of those, like, can you do it now as opposed to in like a month? I got some stuff to do. That's the sentiment, is saying that some of these coins are due for a bounce. Fantastic. Yeah. Let's move on. In news that's supposed to be surprising, but it's not, Fidelity has announced a partnership with JP Morgan Chase to tokenize a money market fund utilizing the Onyx Digital Assets blockchain platform. This blockchain is based on a private Ethereum-derived network and marks a significant step towards integrating blockchain technology into traditional financial systems. Basically, years ago, for those of you who also completely missed it, there's a reason why whenever you watch the news, you will see Jamie Dimon talking negatively about Bitcoin. It's because JP Morgan is part of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. It is a gigantic consortium of very rich companies who announced years ago, I think back in 2018 when they formed, that they are going to be using Ethereum. They use Ethereum, or they're making Ethereum-based applications at some point in the future. When you hear me say and I'll bring it back to 3. When you hear me say that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP are undervalued, it's because of things like this. We keep getting like really significant news about companies and institutions and banks in the space, but it always has like a very like, okay, sure, like blasé kind of feeling months later as people have forgotten about it. That's why sometimes you'll hear, but usually on the other channel, Money Rules, you'll see me literally have like an entire video where I'm like, this is what happened in the last month. This is what happened in the last year as like a re-rundown, because people forget so quickly. So years ago, even when we had news of JP Morgan beginning to make their JP Morgan coin, they were using Ethereum. They have their own Ethereum like private based chains, but they also use the Ethereum mainnet chain as well for extra levels of security. So now they're working with Fidelity to basically like move a money market fund onto a blockchain. But this is happening everywhere. The issue is, and it's not really an issue, it's more of a, is that a lot of times we get news like this quite often. People hear it, then they forget about it. And then we end up having the news again, and someone writes, in a groundbreaking partnership, no, this has been happening for years. That's why these chains are undervalued. The idea was and currently is the tokenization of everything. There were news stories years ago that even stock markets, the NASDAQ, you name it, they're all looking for ways to tokenize all of these things and put them onto blockchains to be able to like hyper fractionalize everything. The idea is, and this is if you want to hear the truth, the idea is that, and what's currently taking place is that in the future, rich people own everything. And I know you go, hey, they already own everything. And it's like, no, they will own all the homes. They will own all the land. They will own all the water and all the assets. So anytime that someone wants to actually get something, a normal everyday person, it will have to be a fraction of something. This is where years ago, and these things still exist as well, where like you can buy like a fraction of a home. Like I don't know the websites, but they're definitely out there. It exists on a blockchain, so it's a real home. And if you only have $25 to put into it, you own $25 worth of that $200,000 home. And like it's dystopian, but also like cool. More people get to invest. But this is kind of the generalized idea, is that in the future, everything will be tokenized and every single thing will be able to be fractionalized to the lowest decimal. So yeah, that's just the world that we currently live in. And JP Morgan and Fidelity have worked together before, but the word blockchain is there. The word Ethereum is there. So it's being touted as something brand new. It's not that it's not amazing or fantabulous, but this usually doesn't affect us as much because this is like an internal working with something that they're trying to currently do. But, you know, they've been doing this for a while. Yeah, always read, always learn more, always educate yourself on stuff, or just try and remember. It's so we get news so frequently in this space. You'll notice sometimes like I'll have like another tab open and I'm like, well, that's cool, but this also happened 6 years ago. Yeah, well, they're talking about it as if no, this also happened like 5 years ago. It's always the kind of the same thing. And this is what I think personally like fuzzies up the space a bit. And as far as like everyone focuses so heavily on the price as opposed to remembering and realizing how far we've come as a market. We're no longer talking about this being like a very small market. Only me and you are inside of it. We're kind of like digging around to see what's what. No, the institutions are here. The institutions aren't coming. I mean, more will arrive in the space, but they know what Bitcoin is. They know what Ethereum is. Central banks are using XRP. Central banks are also mining Bitcoin and buying. Like it's like they've arrived. They are kind of here. And then people see prices go down and they go, sad day for us. And it's like, no, this is what they're doing. Like when you talk about the invisible hands that are moving the market, it's this. You think these people are just working on top of Ethereum and not buying Ethereum for themselves? They want it as low as possible in price so that they can accumulate more. When you hear the companies who are buying from the Ethereum ETFs, who do you think it's going to be? It's always the same as I think for the Bitcoin ones. We saw the major companies buying Bitcoin and people were like, well, the price went down, and it's like, you're not paying attention to the future. You're not even trying to look ahead 5 or 10 years. You're not even like remotely trying to figure out what's going on, even when the news is in front of you every single day. So cool. Yeah. Fidelity, JP Morgan working on tokenizing on a private Ethereum network, as they've probably done before, but this news now made it to the public. Yeah. I think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed this very weird news day, because the cryptocurrency space is also always quite intense. I wish there was more regulatory something. If we have no choice and things will be hyper regulated, why not just regulate properly so we can all move on? It's clearly just a power move by the SEC, but it's like, imagine arm wrestling someone for like 8 years. You're like, okay, my hands are sweaty. Can you stop touching me now? Like, it's that kind of thing. But until someone investigates the SEC for wrongdoing because, you know, something is wrong, we're going to continue having this. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.